Hi, I'm Kenneth, Bryan, the Minister for Tourism and Transport in the Cayman Islands, and I'm also the Chairman of the Caribbean Tourism Organization for the Caribbean region.
Minister Bryan, thank you so much for giving us your time today. What I'd like to do is just start with kind of what you see as the kind of key takeaways from the conference here in Kingston, Jamaica so far.
We need to start planning so we can better prepare ourselves for any next major event that affects our tourism product. That's the emphasis of what I got from this. The Crisis Management Center, putting this conference on together with the Minister, is doing a really good job of highlighting the importance of us preparing, planning, so that any issues that come up in the future, that we can react quickly and recover quickly and strive, as the Minister would say, from any natural disasters that are coming our way, or political or health, any kind of disaster or event. So hopefully, as a result of this conference, a very detailed 3 days worth of information from various different stakeholders to leaders, we'll start to highlight the importance of resilience, almost comparison to sustainability. Over the last few decades, sustainability has become a major priority, with billions of dollars surrounding it, from data collection, preparation, knowledge, thesis, positions. And I think resilience, though it's connected, is different and needs just as much focus as sustainability. So I expect that there'll be a lot more attention, particularly of regional leaders and stakeholders, to bring this to the forefront of everybody's mind, so the next time something happens, we can recover from it quickly and not have such a major shock like COVID-19 did.
What do you think are the key kind of drivers for that sort of resilience sort of framework?
Data analysis, right? Trends and the professionals who understand the markets and the customer behavior. And also environmental analysis. For example, natural disasters have a lot to do with tsunamis, hurricanes, volcanoes, those types of things. So you need people who are professionals in all the various different fields to constantly analyze, to give you preparation data. So geopolitics, there's terrorism threats, there's financial concerns in respect to global economy. There's health, as we all know. I think we're all a master in that at this particular point. But have the specialists and the connections and the networking amongst these various areas, collect the data, and have those who specialize in the analysis to constantly give us reports, whereby leaders can help formulate policies and legislation, and the stakeholders can be better prepared if something happens. And also, it's almost like a warning system to say, watch out for this, because the trends are saying X, Y, and Z, and here's your template structure, what you would want to have in place in the event of something happening. So data and the ability to analyze it properly is the key part that I think will be needed moving forward for every country dealing with these types of effects.
So you're obviously wearing multiple hats here. You've got the Cayman kind of perspective, you've got the kind of overarching kind of Caribbean perspective, and obviously you have a global role and a global kind of perspective, and you mentioned kind of connectivity and networks. How do you see a different way of working to ensure that we're kind of almost working together to solve this? Because no one individual, no one country is going to be able to really achieve what you've sort of outlined here.
Well, I think the first step has already started by the Honorable Edmund Bartlett, with his ability to get the acceptance from the UN to recognize World Resilience Day. That in itself highlights the fact that many countries understand that resilience is something that needs to be taken seriously. Also, within the various pockets of the world, like say for instance my organization, the Caribbean Tourism Organization, and the members, it's my job as the leader for that group to disseminate the understanding, the ideology behind that theory, and start to do work there. And various different organizations across the world, up to the very top, to the G7, or anywhere else for that fact. So I think this is what you see as a start of a more structured way to prepare yourself for resilience. We've always been doing resilience, we've just been all doing it individually. And I think that this conference is a spark, in my humble opinion, of the organizational approach to being prepared for any kind of natural disaster or serious event.
You know, when we think about tourism, and we've heard a lot about this over the last few days, tourism is connected to everything else. And tell us a little bit about sort of how you see that kind of connectivity from a category and going across your various kind of ministerial departments in Cayman and the Caribbean.
Yeah, it's an interesting point because when you think about tourism, it's the movement of people. With evolution of travel and science and planes, tourism is probably the most impactful industry in the world. And tourism is related to everything else, whether it's trade, financial services, art, construction. You need tourism, meaning the movement of people in some capacity. So it's either business travel, leisure travel, medical travel, sports travel, all of these things. You can't do it without traveling. Human beings have evolved by movement amongst each other in their different worlds within Earth. It highlights the point that you can't get away from tourism. No matter what your pillar or your major industry is within your country, whether that is agriculture, whether that's production, whether that's technology, whether that's entertainment, tourism has to be involved. People have to move. And as a result, what it shows you is that every person who's in charge of tourism with the various countries have to have a full assessment of what's happening within their country, because tourism is affected in every single way. So as a Minister for Tourism, it almost puts me in that position to always be aware of what my colleagues are doing at all times, because the product of hospitality and selling our country, its culture, its environment, you need to know how it's being affected by any different change in policy and decision by various different ministries. So I'm obligated to be aware of that at all times. And how does this change affect our product that we sell from a hospitality perspective to those who tour our countries? So got to be tuned in to everything that's going on in your country at this time, yeah.
Talk about being tuned in. You highlighted a particularly innovative approach to the connectivity challenge with the pioneering investment that you made into Cayman Airways. Could you share some of the kind of the thinking behind that?
Well, you know, travel is a very expensive exercise, particularly with fuel prices going out of control. But I'm happy that the vehicles that are used are becoming more and more efficient. So that's good news. But we're not quite there yet where it becomes cheap. It's still rather expensive. So as a result, we analyze what the value is in the Cayman Islands for our national airline. The money that we may lose on subsidizing our national airline, we believe we'll make that money tenfold with the people coming into our islands. So I think many times people have tried it and then looked at it simply purely from a business perspective and say the company is not making money. But what is it built for is the question you have to ask yourself in the first place. We didn't see the Cayman Island, our national airline, as primarily profit driven. It was about connectivity within our country, because we have 3 islands, and it's important that we able to talk to each other on a regular basis, to see family members and so forth, and also for evacuation purposes if there's a natural disaster. So those 2 primary focuses kept us holding on to it. And as we analyzed more, hold on for a minute, even if we make a loss, the value of what we get back with the injection of those spend from people visiting the island, we can subsidize that, that loss to the airline. So we see it as an economic accelerator rather than an expense to the country.
I think it's a brilliant example of a new way of thinking, a new way of evaluating, a resilient and sustainable way of thinking, and hats off to you for that.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.